Hey, welcome to my video. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to talk about something very important to me, Florida Turnpike Deadly 90-mile stretch. Okay, I'll discuss why I call it the Deadly 90-mile stretch. I will be covering. Okay, I believe that there is a flaw in design on Florida's Turnpike that almost ended the life of my family of four. That's part of my motivation of putting this video together to raise awareness and hopefully we can do something about it. Having said that, this is what the turnpike looks like. It is the main artery is actually from Aculla right here, just south of that, and it travels way south all the way to Miami. I do believe it goes through the Florida Keys. I am not from Florida. I was a tourist from Texas. But this is what the turnpike is, just a series of tollways. And there are other areas, like you can see right here. There's one from Tampa going up a little bit north. So main artery goes through Orlando all the way down to the Florida Keys. Okay. All right, our trip. We're a family of four traveling to Florida for the first time. A road trip to see major cities, beaches, amusement parks, restaurants, and shopping. On the journey from city hopping, we used and totally relied on Google Maps. From Cocoa Beach to Miami, this is an important route that I want to discuss. So from Orlando, we actually went to Cocoa Beach just to check out that area, Kennedy Space Center and whatnot. So I think it would be probably a common path for tourists to go this route towards Miami. When you're using Google, it's going to tell you to take 95. Right at Fort Pierce, it will tell you to take the Florida Turnpike. And again, we're just tourists. We're just going to do whatever Google tells us to do. Right here is where there's an entrance ramp for you to jump on the turnpike and go to Miami. It runs parallel to 95. 95, I think it's just toll is intended to be faster. So Google did say it saves like 20 minutes, but you have to pay the toll. So this Fort Pierce is going to play an important part of what I'm trying to convey. So just remember Fort Pierce, and that kind of sits in between Miami and Cocoa Beach. So here's a better map of it. This is what our day looked like. This is literally straight from Google. I did not draw these lines. This is Google. It knows my location based off of GPS on my phone. You can actually do this too yourself if you have Google, if you didn't know. But this is what our day looked like. We went from Orlando, took this route to Cocoa Beach, and we went southbound. Right here, we're at 95. Google told us to take, here's Fort Pierce. It told us to take the tollway, and which would have taken us to Miami. Well, this looks kind of normal, right? Except for this blip right here. You see that left turn? That's where we're about to enter the deadly 90-mile road. Okay. So at that fork, you will see this at some point when you go from 95 to Florida Turnpike, you will see this transition. Okay. If you go right, it will take you to Orlando. This is opposite of Miami, and that's not good. You're going northbound. If you go left, the right way, what I call here the right way, you will go southbound, right? And here's a better view of it on the left here. So here's our car. We're going southbound, right? And if you turn right, going south, you will see that this red arrow is the wrong way. It's going to take you north to Orlando. Okay. The right way is to take this lane right here, this left lane, and you see this green arrow? It's going to take you this way. It's going to do a loop around, and then you're going to go southbound to Miami. Okay. So we took the long story short, we took the wrong way, but this is what it looked like. Okay. And this is the fork at Fort Pierce. That's going to play an important part of what I'm going to say. But you notice right here, this little rectangular box right here. This is the Florida Tollway Fort Pierce Toll Plaza, right? This is where you pay your money or they capture your tag and they bill you later. But this is the plaza. We drove one of those. Okay. So again, we went the wrong way, and then green is the right way south. So remember, we came from Cocoa Beach over here, went this way. Now it's telling us to go back to Orlando. Okay, show you the road. So I spent a good amount of time trying to figure out was there a previous sign, and there was not. This road right here is to Miami, and there's a little sign here, and we'll talk more about that. But there's a sign right here to Miami. Okay, both signs, the one to Miami and Orlando, are very small. So this is comparable to a regular street sign. It's not like the highway signs up here, like the big highway type signs. This is very small. You can't see it. Most people cannot see it from the toll going exit the toll lane. You won't be able to see it with regular vision, right? And the one to Orlando does not mention that there's no escape or gas for 40 miles. That's somewhat, there's an asterisk there, and I'll get into that later, and I'll discuss what a no escape route is. So from the time you exit the toll booth, you have about only 10 car lengths to see a small sign. So we are actually coming on this right side lane right here. Like we paid our toll or toll tag, whatever we went through. You only have about 10 car lengths to see this sign. Right, here's the sign over here on your right here. Miami South, and this is the actual sign. It's very small. Like I said, this Miami thing is comparable to a street sign. Now, here's my challenge with this location. You, we had no warning before this sign. They're telling us Miami after the actual fork. Here's the actual start of the fork. They're telling us afterwards, you know, take, the get on the left side to go to Miami. Well, what good does it do after the fork, right? Now you're assuming that most people can see it right about here. You don't have a lot of time to think. We were on this lane, and by the time we saw it, it was too late. The We saw the sign right about here, but then there was another car blocking us. That's the other problem. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room. And we just happened to end up on this left lane. It's random, right? You're gonna pick one of these two lanes. We just happen to be here. Okay, fine. You missed it. Just take the next exit and loop southbound, right? Not really. We are in the highway into the abyss for 90 miles. So to help me describe this issue, I'm introducing a new terminology to help illustrate the problem. I'm going to call it no escape route. And I'm defining it as a route is when you enter a road system and there's no way to exit or perform a U-turn. Okay, you go in. It's like a roller coaster. You can't leave it. Once you're in it, there's no stopping the roller coaster to get off. You're stuck. Meaning, if you have health issues and you didn't realize it before you got on the roller coaster, I'm using this analogy because this actually happened to a family member of mine. Once you get on the roller coaster, you have to finish the ride. There is no way to get out. This is the same thing with a no escape route. In the case of Florida, there's a no escape route for 45 miles. I say 90 miles, that's round trip, but you cannot leave the system for 45 miles. Okay, I'm going to talk more of this. So, what that means is if you took that wrong turn here, you're going to pay a penalty. You're going to go 90 miles. You're going to go where the red arrows are. You're going to go way up there and back again. That whole process is 90 miles. It's 80 to 90 miles depending on how you look at it. But when we first took the wrong turn, I actually pulled over the car, and I couldn't believe it. My wife told me she was the navigator, and she didn't have a lot of time to decide at the fork either. She kept on looking down and up. And remember, we only had 10 car lengths, so it wasn't anybody's fault. I'm a very patient person. You know, I'm tremendously safety oriented, and I'm like, just be patient. And I'm overprotective dad, right? I always safety. I spend extra money on my cars to get the safety features. In fact, when we purchase a car, the only thing we look at is safety. It gets a high rating from the government crash test. If any cars don't make it, we don't even look at it. That's how I am. Anyways, even a guy patient as me, I couldn't believe it. So I'll just read through this. In Hora, Google Maps added 90 miles to our route. No exit ramp, nowhere to legally and safely do a U-turn. This is a big one. I'll talk to more about that more as we go through. No gas station for 33 miles. We didn't know this at the time. It's when I actually did my research. I figured this out. There's just no way out. You're stuck. All the while accruing toll charges. Now, accruing toll charge, that's the last thing on my mind right now. But I had actually called the Florida Department of Transportation, and I ended up with a person that in road design, and he actually is from the Panhandle, so he didn't really know much about this. But I told him there was a no escape route for 45 miles, and he didn't. He was taken aback by it, and I told him, well, what's the longest you've experienced? He said like 5 miles, maybe 10. But no, no, I told him there's a stretch of road. I mean, you can't leave for 45 miles if you take the wrong turn. And he was very sympathetic to my cause, and he mentioned, yeah, and you you're accruing toll charges all this time. And I'm like, that's the last thing on my mind. But anyway, there's something also weird right about this area right here. I'll get into that in subsequent slide, but there's really something weird there as well. So anyway, let me put it in perspective before we do that. What 90 miles looks like. 90-mile penalty is the equivalent of driving from Orlando to Tampa, okay? Or Tampa to Orlando, one way. That's the equivalent of what 90 miles look like. That is a huge penalty for taking a wrong turn. Big, 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 big mistake. What a difference a few feet made. Oh my God, uh, I'm sorry, but I can get very, very passionate about this, and because it did almost end the life of my family, and I'll discuss more of that in subsequent slides. But why in the world, why do we not have better signs, location of signs, and warning that you're about to enter a no escape route? It just boggles the mind. There's nowhere, no indication anywhere on the roads. And I painstakingly retraced my path to get into this road system and through Google Maps, and no signs at all to warn you you're about to enter in a no escape route. So what a big difference. Here again, Florida Tollway Fort Pierce Toll Plaza. There's a little pond or lake or something like that. You know, it's depressing just thinking about it and how many people actually miss that turn. It's got to be at least once a day. That's probably an understatement considering how much volume goes through and how much tourism goes through the state of Florida. So the state of Florida and California is very touristy. New York is very touristy. In fact, Florida is typically ranked in the top 10 as the most visited state in uh, in the U.S. Right? Orlando, right? Probably the most visited city. Orlando will consistently land in the top 10. The last I checked, it was ranked number four, the fourth most visited city in the United States. And anyone living in Orlando will tell you that, yeah, we get a lot of tourism, of course, right? Disneyland, the amusement park, the theme parks, right? And this would not be an uncommon route for a lot of travelers. So that this was the volume of people making this wrong turn is probably pretty high. Okay, that's the point I want to make. All right, common sense factor. For those who argue that drivers should know when you're facing west, north is on the right side and south is on the left side. So let me explain this with my mouse cursor here. Here's the Florida Tollway Fort Pierce Toll Plaza. If you're coming this way, you should know when you're turning right that this is north, and when you turn left, this is south. Not always true. Look at the road to Miami in blue, right? So just using this as an example, look at it. It's going here, is turning, is actually looping north, and then it's going back southbound, right? You can't predict how road designers are going to design road. They deal with terrains. Like, in fact, look at this map right here. You have a pond right here. You have a pond right here. You have no idea when they build this road what they're faced with. So emotions. It's very important to express our emotions, what we felt when we took the wrong turn and we had to take this 45-mile each way, 90-mile penalty, right? Disbelief when being patient doesn't pay off. Like I said, I'm very patient. This is the one time it didn't pay off. If it's a 5 mile, 10 mile, okay, just bite the bullet and turn around. This one will even get the most patient people. Okay, nothing like this in Texas, not even close. We don't have anything like this in Texas. And I lived in Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth area. We frequent San Antonio and Houston a lot. We don't have anything like this. In fact, the only thing I can think of that I experienced one time was when I was driving to San Antonio. We have a toll road called 130. When once you get in the boonies, the exit gets like there was a couple of parts where it's like 5 miles, and I thought that was long. But from one exit to the next exit, where you could leave the highway system, it was like 5 miles the most, I think. Wife and I expressed our frustration of the design, how this could happen. We must have said, "What are they thinking?" 100 times. Kudos to state of Texas, and it's not to say anything negative about the state of Florida. Actually, we had high praise for the Florida highway system before the turnpike. I just think this is something that needs to be corrected. When we went to Naples, and I'll bring up another slide to illustrate what we thought was good about the state of Florida. Let me see if I can find one. Here, I'll just use this slide, right? I'm sorry, this slide. So in the state of Florida, in Naples area, Fort Myers, they actually have just a regular non-highway road, the street road. Their typical one is 1, 2, 3 lanes. They have a middle center lane, and on the other side is 3 lanes, and that's really nice because they don't have a lot of traffic problems because they have 7 lanes across. We don't have anything like that in Texas. That our average is like this. You have 1, 2, a center lane, and 1, 2. That's our average road in inner city. So that's one thing Florida does better than Texas. But in this situation, this is where Texas is far better than Florida when you're talking about designing good roads, convenient for everybody. Now that we are on the Florida Turnpike going the wrong way, I thought I'd put in a little humor when I reconstructed this path. I saw this sign. I almost wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Florida Turnpike, the less stressed way. I would argue that if you can't leave any road system, to me, that's going to add stress. And I thought, add a little bit more humor here. The irony of this sign is also killing me. Well, what's the point of telling me the name of the road that I can't get on? This is the name of the road. It's called Pike Road. I can't get on it. There's no ramp. Look on this side. There's no ramp here. There's no ramp here. There's no ramp here. And there's no ramp here. You can't get on it. It's just a bridge of a road that you can't get on that's going across. This thing might as well be in China because to get on this road, you literally got to go up 45 miles, take a totally different road. You can't take this road because if you come back from north going south, Orlando going towards Miami, you can't even get on it. You'd have to take a different road to get on Picos Road. There's no point in you telling me that this is Picos Road. Now I say that, as a regular driver, I'm sure they use it like for emergency services. They might say, hey, if you're in an accident, they say, hey, maybe 100 yards north of Picos Road or something like that. But generally, for the average driver, you don't need to know what this road is because it makes no difference to you. You can't get on and off on this highway system at all, period. Right? Bridge after bridge, no way to get on. So once again, just no point in the sign for me, the average driver. Absolutely nothing you can do once you've entered in this no escape route, or is there? So remember what I said before about the U-turn? Well, as it turns out, when you drive on this road, this no escape route, you can actually U-turn right here. Okay. Now the problem with this is illegal. This is only supposed to be used for emergency services, EMS, fire department, that sort of a thing. I will say that I think it was about maybe every 1 or 2 miles, we could see something like this. It's there. We did actually go for it. So how would you pull this off? A lot of people, remember, you're traveling at an extraordinary high rate of speed, like 70 miles per hour. You just can't go on this lane right here, slam on the brakes and turn like this. The car coming behind you is going to hit you. You would actually have to take this shoulder right here, okay? And you'd actually have to start right here. You'd come to a complete stop. Let cars, when you get a clearing, then gun it right across. This is Google Maps. I did not draw this till lines, but that is the exact route that we took, right? So this is the actual what Google says our attempt from Google. It's pretty accurate. It's not too bad because right here it's hitting the this little rail here, and that's definitely not true. But we were right here, right? It's very close. Depending on where our cell phone is, but this is a very dangerous maneuver. Cars are going about 80 miles per hour, and I didn't realize how dangerous it was until I actually performed it. you're coming from a stop. It'll throw your timing off because they're just zooming by you. You don't really know exactly how fast it will come to your car, and it was extremely scary doing this maneuver. So I did it. Here's my thought process, why I decided to do it. Well, it's better than turn around here at this U-turn than go the full 90 miles. Understood that traffic was going to be very fast. Now, I'm very safety conscious, and even I was, not happy about having to take this penalty. So someone like me usually say, you bite the bullet and you do it, but 90 miles is not reasonable. I don't think it's reasonable for missing a turn. If emergency vehicles can pull this off and not get hit, so can I. So that's my thought process. Well, if other people can do it, it's probably safer than what it looks like, right? So my thought process going, pull over, take your time, be overly cautious. That's why I decided to do it. Yeah. So just to give you more context why I did it, each and every U-turn just teased me. I have it a little bit of humor here, right? Hey, if you just use me, I can save you a lot of time and gas. So you would pass U-turn by U-turn by U-turn. And it's just like this fishbowl right here, right? You're so close, but you're so far away. It's one of those things that you'll probably run into a situation like this in your life where you'll be put in this situation. I think the situation I put in was very unreasonable, and any person driving on the turnpike, I would definitely say it's unreasonable to make someone drive that distance. So here's my illegal U-turn. Better illustration, right? So, like I said in the beginning of this presentation, there is this little weird blip right here. Well, we actually didn't make it to Yeehaw Junction because we did that U-turn and we barely survived. We did the U-turn. If you look at it, this is the size of our SUV at that time, right? It's kind of cars are zooming by you, zoom, zoom, zoom. Even when we were right here, before we actually pulled off the maneuver, it was scary. It was a little bit scary. It's a very uncomfortable feeling just because if the car clips you, you kind of wonder those things. But no, going back, I would have taken the penalty, but because this is actually very, very dangerous, as I find out the hard way. It's not something that you're going to be taught in driver's ed, right? Here we go. Oh no, pulled out to make an aggressive right turn. It's actually not right, it's actually left turn. But there were car traveling 80 miles per hour, missed me by inches right here. Another 4 feet, the person would have hit us dead center in the car. Highly doubtful any of us survive. You're not going to survive getting T-boned at 80 miles per hour. Highly doubtful. The car would have been probably in 4 different pieces, right? There's safe cars, but that's unreasonable to expect a car to survive something at 80 miles per hour and be in one piece. It's not realistic, right? So I will go on to say if you get T-boned at 35 miles per hour, you're probably not going to make it either, right? Because between you and that front grill of that car traveling 80 miles per hour, backed up by tons of weight, it's just the door, which is a glass and door, right? So it's just a little sheet of metal. There's not a lot protecting you. It is a little bit of hunk of metal on the bottom and top, but it's not that much. You're not going. It's just not going to be good, right? So my SUV shook. Didn't even know what model car it was. All I remember is seeing flashes of green and yellow, and that's the effect of like when you watch the movies, the train goes by really quick. It's just one big blur. That's what I remember. I couldn't even turn to look to see what model car it was because I had to stay focused on getting the middle lane. Didn't have time. Neither car would have had enough time to react since I'm literally jumping in front of another car. This would have resulted in a T-bone impact at the rate of 70, 80 miles per hour. So what went wrong? I never saw it coming. Details reserved for a different video, but in short, I missed the vehicle in my blind side, right? It's easy to miss a car in the rear view mirror and driver mirror due to one, high rate of speed of oncoming traffic, limited visibility of both lanes of the highway because I'm starting on the service lane. Above causes much larger blind side than usual. So, I don't know, when you're looking through a SUV, it's not a big window like you think. And because I'm starting on the shoulder, it can play tricks on you. And I did look in the driver's side mirror. It was clear, but clearly there was a blind spot. and I totally missed it. I never saw it coming. If I could do it all over again, and I was going to do this for another video, but if I could do it all over again, you got to stick your head out of the window to take a look. When you think it's clear, you got to stick your head out. That's the only way to guarantee that you didn't miss someone in your blind spot, right? So if the small chance that anybody's going to pull off this maneuver, uh, that's what you have to do. Going back in time, that's what I would have done. Well, first I wouldn't have done it, but if I had to do it, I would stick your head out. After everything's clear, you got to do one last check. Stick your head out of the mirror, window, make sure there's nobody, then pull the maneuver. Because again, your cards are going so fast, it's going to throw you off. You're going to miss something, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. So important to mention my emotions afterwards. I was shaken up. After I made it on the median, I lost confidence to get on the southbound traffic. We were there, we were there for like I was very uncomfortable being there. You could see the cars on the other side coming towards me. They were slowing down. They were getting on the right. They were like, "Oh crap, this guy's gonna jump in front of me," and they had every reason to fear, because drivers do that. They jump in front of other people. But fortunately, that didn't happen to us. We timed it the merge well, so we were okay. But first 15 minutes, I was very depressed, guilt, self anger. Like, why did I put myself and my family in this situation? Extraordinary stupid move. That all those thoughts were going through my head. Afterwards, I started to turning attention onto the design of the road, and it sank in, right? The issue is more road design than it is human error, right? And I'll explain that a little bit more on these next slides. So I was going to do a thorough investigation, just me being a professional troubleshooter by trade. I am a professional software. When software breaks, I'm the last line of defense. I'm going to do an investigation. So I painstakingly virtually recreated the 90-mile U-turn using Google Maps to validate Google, right? So if you don't know this, you can go on Google. It will tell you the route you took, like I demonstrated before. It'll map all that for you, and you can actually go view any road you want to. I think majority of people watching this knows this. So here's something interesting. Here is evidence that I am not the only person to perform this maneuver. I can't imagine this being only EMS, fire department. Highly doubtful. It's just, I just don't. I'm just not buying into that, right? We won't know for sure until they put a camera to see who's actually doing it. So more evidence. You can see there's a lot of tire marks. The reason why they left an imprint is because they're speeding. They're gunning it, so they're gonna slam on the gun, and they're gonna floor it basically to get to the median, and you want to get there as soon as you can. Now this is interesting. This is evidence a semi truck tried this maneuver. You can see these two pairs of tire tracks, and that's very common with trucks. Okay, that's going to play an important part as I go through the subsequent slides. So this is interesting. Yeehaw Junction is actually up here. Okay, and there is a Fort Drum Service Plaza right here. And as it turns out, you can actually do a U-turn here. I strongly believe, probably 99% sure of that. You wouldn't know it by driving on there. There's no signs to tell you that. And Google Maps doesn't even know you can do a U-turn here, right? And a Service Plaza in Florida, it's just little gas stations kind of in the middle where both both sides of the interstate, they can meet in the middle. And they has gas stations, Subway, McDonald's, whatever. It's just fast food and gas right here. So Fort Pierce toll booth is right here. So really, for this example, we could have gone this way, done, I think this is like 33 miles the last I checked. Then you could have done a U-turn right here and gone 33 miles back. That's about almost 70 miles, and that's still not good. That's still high for a penalty for missing the fork, for taking the wrong turn. Now, if we had gone straight, this is what it would have looked like. Would have had done something like this. So the Yeehaw Junction actually would have saved you a little bit. But again, we didn't know that. So here's the sign itself, and this is, I'll just read through this. So U-turn available at Service Plaza, not advertised because it's not officially a U-turn, right? You don't see it says U-turn or turnaround or anything like that right here. The problem with this sign, there's only one sign just before the Service Plaza itself. So location is not good. It does not mention you can do a U-turn here. This is probably because it's not recognized as a place to do a U-turn. Even Google Maps does not instruct you to do a U-turn here, costing more miles unnecessarily. Here's the Fort Drum sign. It's a left exit. Like I said, you're going to meet people in the middle coming from the other way. They meet in the middle, and you can actually do a U-turn there, I believe. So if I look at the map, it does look like if I had gone in here, it does look like I could have taken this road and back out and go the other way. So that's this is what a service plaza looks like. And the Yeehaw Junction, this is to complete this U-turn from one side of the highway to the other side alone, is 6 miles. So let me explain this a little bit. When you are going, see these green arrows that's going up? So this is going north to Orlando. We're on the Florida Turnpike. Okay. Now, once you get the Yeehaw Junction, you have to turn right, right? You have to turn right onto this highway, State 60, whatever. Then you have to loop around, right? This in itself is 6 miles, right? After you've done that, you got to do this crazy stuff. I'm not even trying to make sense of this, but well, I'm sure at some point you go southbound, this green arrow down. But again, I just don't understand it. Even this U-turn is just madness, right? And the fact that you already driven like 40 miles, you still have to do this extra 6 mile step. And again, I'm under the belief that no highway should not have an exit no greater than 5 miles. The 5 miles penalty is bad enough. Just getting here, you still have to do another 6 miles. It's pretty. It's just inconceivable to me why it was designed this way. All right, so advisory that doubtfully anybody reads. Okay, I actually went to the Florida Turnpike website. I'm going to read this orange point right here. Please be advised that U-turn on Florida's turnpike system are only permitted at service plazas, okay? Located approximately every 40 miles. Drivers who attempt to make U-turn at emergency vehicle turnarounds could be subject to traffic citation. So I'm going to ask the obvious: how many drivers actually log on to the Turnpike website to see this message? Why is this notification not on the road itself? I mean, realistically, this one kind of frustrates me a little bit. You got to put this type of information on the road. And I will say probably 1 in 100,000 drivers probably actually logged in to see this. And probably of that, probably of every person that actually logged in to see this, they fully understood what this was talking, probably like more than 1 in 1 million, right? I just don't see it happening. I live in the state of Texas. I take the state of Texas tollway. I only log in the website to pay for a bill or get a new tag. Nobody ever reads this stuff. Okay. And my feeling why this was done was more for CYA, for legal matters. Like, hey, we warned you, in case something happens, just more for legal. I don't understand why it's not on the road. This is frustrating. There's no indication for me as a driver to tell me, hey, you're about to enter in a no escape road. You're going to be trapped here for 45 minutes. You need to make sure you have enough gas. Nothing. I got nothing like that. And I did painstakingly go back to Google Maps and recreate it, and there is no sign that warned me what I was entering in. A couple of things about this thing. Please be advised that U-turns on Florida Turnpike system are only permitted at service plazas. So that's why I'm saying I'm sure I could have done a U-turn there. Again, the sign did not tell me I could have done a U-turn there, right? And the sign was too close to the service plaza itself. It wasn't like after a sign like that needs to be more when you're entering in the system, then they'll tell you, hey, you can do it at the Fort Drum Service Plaza, 33 miles, right? It should have did something like that. It didn't. So we had no way of knowing. A lot to say here. I'll discuss more in details when I recommend signs. Am I the only one stupid enough to try this dangerous illegal maneuver, this U-turn, illegal U-turn? Let's part of my research. Let's go through a couple of articles I found. Illegal U-turn blamed in 2 deaths. Right, a construction truck driver who tried to change directions on Florida's Turnpike on Friday afternoon turned in front of an oncoming car, killing 2 people and severely injuring two others. So this particular individual made it to the median and he jumped out, right, to go the other way. After he wanted to do the U-turn, he jumped out in front of oncoming cars. And that's what I'm saying. This is a very dangerous maneuver. The speed of traffic will throw you off. And even for people who are not doing the illegal maneuver, a car could potentially jump out in front of you, and this is exactly what happened, and it killed two people and severely injuring two. Okay, let's go to the next one. Truck making illegal U-turn causes crash on turnpike. Now this is an interesting one. I'll continue to read down here. One thing you want to know is right here is Fort Pierce, right? That's where I missed my turn at the fork, and I assume that this particular truck driver experienced the same thing where he missed a turn, right? And then he looked at his GPS like I did, and sure enough, he saw that the actual turnaround is 90 miles, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do that." Just like what I did, right? Only what's really fascinating about this thing is this guy knows that he doesn't have the room. Look at this. Look at how this is like what, 40 feet, right? 20, 40 feet, I don't know. But it covers the span of the whole highway. And even he was willing to do this. And, it caused a crash. And that's because, cars, they can't stop fast enough. They're going too fast. And this is what I'm trying to say. If a person bold enough to know that he doesn't have room that's going to attempt it, right? Your average driver is definitely going to attempt it with a much smaller car that can barely fit in here, right? So I don't really necessarily blame the truck driver. You think about it, you have to go 90 miles. This is ridiculous, right? So, and a lot of these people, they're tired, like all drivers going, between cities and things. You're tired. You can't believe it's really happening, and you're going to attempt it. But he did cause a crash. This one was really interesting because I did see in the previous slide that I illustrated, I did show the evidence that a truck tried this maneuver. Now, I don't know it was this truck, but the fact that trucks even try that at all is pretty crazy. I mean, again, if you stood still on the side of the road, if you have your windows down, you can feel the car zooming by you, zoom, zoom, and your car will shake a little bit. Traffic's going really fast. Florida firefighters sued for 1.4 million in fatal accident. So here's an interesting one. Firefighters were negligent when they attempted to make a U-turn on Florida's turnpike while responding to a reported accident. That call turned out to be a false alarm, and the crew was using the U-turn to return to quarters. Unfortunately, 88-year-old was killed. Turnpike Authority has since prohibited emergency vehicles from using the U-turn openings. You can't assume, it's really ironic. They set up the U-turn for emergency vehicles, and you think that those guys could pull off the maneuver, but they're just like any other driver. I don't know that any of them are trained to do that U-turn maneuver. It might be word of mouth thing. Hey, if you ever do this, Bob, go on the shoulder and then pull across. It might be a verbal thing. I don't know that they're trained on this, but for sure, the firefighters in this particular situation caused death, right? And these are what you assume would be professionals, right? And they're found liable for $1.4 million. This is why the U-turn needs to be illegal. Again, nothing like this in Texas. We don't have, and I'll tell you, I've lived in Texas for a long time. All the major cities, drive through them. We don't. This is the first I've seen. I don't recall this ever having this in Texas. I want to butcher the name of the city, Ocala County. One person was killed and two were hurt in a crash on Florida Turnpike in Ocala County Thursday night, trooper said. Okay. Eduardo stopped his vehicle in the travel lane on the southbound side of the road because a vehicle in front of him was making a U-turn. Okay, so this is bad, right? This guy was doing a U-turn, okay? And in the previous video, I said you cannot do it from the left lane. You have to go on the shoulder, wait for traffic to pass, and cut across. Now, no one told me that. I just as I was passing from U-turn to U-turn, I figured this was going way too fast to just slam on the brakes. I just thought that you'd have to do it from the shoulder. But what this individual did was he did it from the left side. He slammed on the brakes. This guy had to stop because the car in front of him stopped. So a third car hit the middle guy, and the middle guy actually ended up dying. So he was caught in a bad situation and he was following the law, right? So he was doing everything right. This guy broke the law and this guy killed him. And this guy did nothing wrong. Like I said, it's very dangerous for everybody. You can't assume the person that's actually doing the illegal turn would pay the price. In this case, it's definitely not true. This guy ended up killing this guy for or causing an accident, killing this person. And again, there's always different types of way to die with this particular U-turn, and I hate to say it like that, but there's so many ways to die from this, right? You cut across here. In my case, I jump out in front of someone. I could have got T-boned at 80 miles, 5 miles per hour. You have this situation, right? And then you have a situation where one car come jumping out in front of the other cars. But I thought this was interesting. That this is another way that an accident could have been caused. There's two illegal things occurring. One, they're not supposed to be driving on the highway, but and two, they merged, they jumped out, they did the illegal U-turn, and they jumped in front of someone and they created an accident, right? This one is just interesting. Investigators said they are constantly thinking of ideas to prevent this illegal activity. Okay, I don't know how they can. I'm not sure what idea they can possibly come up to prevent someone. It sounds like a drug deal or something, but I don't know what you could possibly do to prevent anybody that wants to come on here to do U-turn to not do U-turn. It's impossible. Get rid of it, period. That's how you can prevent this illegal activity. Get rid of it. Give us the ramps we need on the bridges, right? That's how you prevent this illegal activity because once again, you put people in unreasonable situation, they're going to do this, right? I think that I could go on articles by articles to articles. There are tons out there about the Florida Turnpike. You can look up historical U-turn accidents on the Florida Turnpike, and it'll pop up, and most of them usually result in at least one death. I hate to say that way, but it's bleak, right? I mean, again, I was almost involved. My family of four, at a minimum, would not be around had I gassed it just slightly a little bit more. I was only short 4 feet before the guy hit me in the middle. So, we wouldn't have survived. So, talking about emergency services again. So, again, this is my path. This is where I did the U-turn, right? Now, the turnpike actually keeps on going. If you can follow the cursor there, the little palm, it'll keep on going, right, to Yeehaw Junction, right? Remember those bridges that I showed, the bridge where you will pass but you can't get on? So let's take a look at this. Here's the fork. I took the wrong turn, right? Let's just say I got in an accident here, unrelated to the U-turn. Just anybody get an accident here. Well, how would emergency services get on? Let's just say if a emergency service person was right here, right? This is I-95. Let's just say for in hypothetical situation, a EMS was like right here, for example, or somewhere here in the inner city, right? How would they get on? How would they get to me or anybody if anyone just gotten a little bit of an accident right here, right? So EMS right now, right? They would have to. I'm assuming that this will actually get on I-95. We know for certain this road will not get on the turnpike. You just can't go straight on this road and get on the turnpike. I'm not sure why this driving is coming up, but we'll just ignore it for now. But if they're driving right here, it, the way they would have to get to the accident today, and then let's just assume one of these buildings is EMS, right? They'd have to take this road, right? They'd have to go southbound I-95, go through the fork, and let's hope let's hope they take the right way, or it's going to be a big problem, right? So let's assume they go the right way and they go north, right? And then they finally make it to the accident right around here. Okay. Did y'all see that? You have to go over, go down, go back up, and this whole stretch right here, that whole path is like 20 miles, kind of like this. It's like I'm assuming it's about 20 miles just on my study of the road system. Right now, if they're like right here, an accident occur here, let's see what happens if you have a bridge. You go this way, cut across I-95, you enter the highway system right there. It's much, much shorter path, right? Fire department, EMS, everything, right? Much, much shorter path. When you talk about, like in the example of the article that I just went through, they did that because the turnpike put them in an unreasonable situation. Now, remember why they used that U-turn. They did not use that U-turn to get to an accident. So they were actually headed back from, a call. All right, they're going back to their headquarters or their building or whatever it is. They're going back, and they voluntarily did the U-turn. Right, they weren't in any rush. They did their U-turn, and they were involved in a deadly accident. Right. Again, when you put people in an unreasonable situation, they're going to do unreasonable things. Or I don't even think that's unreasonable to take that U-turn. Right. They're going to um, they're going to take the shortcut because to tell them you have to go 60, 90 miles to get back home or your base is ridiculous. So of course they're going to use it. And then to make matters worse, you throw a sign there to say only emergency, services road and only emergency vehicle. Illegal. It's illegal, right? For anybody. Of course people, if I had to gauge right now, 90% of experienced driver would make that U-turn, right? And knowing that's illegal, if they needed to go the other way from the highway, that's what's going to happen. And just to illustrate the problem, this did happen with an EMS and ambulance service, right? But if we look at the road design, once again, having the bridge on makes just so much more sense. And for life of me, I can't understand why it's not there for those type of services, ambulance, fire department, police department. It's just not a way I would have designed it. It just and really, when you follow this, you can't get on. All these roads that cross by all these uh, major roads, you can't get on there. You just can't. You're gonna pass it. It's gonna be a bridge. You're gonna see it, but you can't get on there. So hopefully that illustrates why you need the entrance ramps because it's a lot faster for anybody. You give them options to get on and off. It's much better. So how this could have been avoided, right? So when I was thinking back to the beginning, how in my particular situation, how this all could have been avoided. So very first contributor of the error was before I entered in the toll booth, right? There's a lack of signs, improper size of signs, improper placement of signs. There's just not enough time to react. Right? No warning, I was in a no escape road for 45 miles. 33 if you count the Fort Drum Service Plaza. We didn't know that you could do U-turn there, but it it's just astronomical, and that's very unreasonable for missing a turn. But it's not even necessarily just missing the turn, but it's not knowing where you could have the U-turn. Now, thank God everybody has cell phone these days and GPS. Without that, we wouldn't have known that, it was a long road ahead. If you can imagine if we didn't have a GPS, there was no signs to say, hey, where and when you could have done a U-turn. Just a ton of not having a lot of information. That really bothers me a little bit because 45 miles is a long stretch and just very limited information. We wouldn't have known. Okay. Going back, only two signs to Miami and Orlando when entering the turnpike. So like I said, we're going to take a step back. Here was the sign to Miami, and sign to Orlando blocked by construction light sign. So behind this sign is one to Orlando. Again, the only sign to Orlando is blocked. Like I said, you can't make this up, right? So put it in perspective. Um, here is just a recap real quick. This is the small sign at the fork, right? And there's one to Orlando right here. Okay. Immediately, we need pair of two big overhead signs at the toll booth and Fort Pierce, uh, should be Fort Pierce Plaza, that indicate which lane is for Miami or Orlando. So if you ask me, what is your ask? Like, if you ask me that, tell me of all the situation, what can we do immediately to rectify the problem? Here's what I would tell you. Put a sign right here on the left side for Orlando, and put a sign on the this lane here on the right for Miami. Okay, so something like this: Orlando North, right lane, no escape route for 35 miles. You just told the individual there's no escape for 35 miles. This is a good thing. They need to know that, right? Miami South left lane. Drivers need to know this. Again, on the sign, I want to introduce this again. No escape roads. All roads greater than 6 miles with no opportunity for a U-turn must be classified as no escape road. So I'm proposing that the state of Florida and any other state that have this madness, adopt this new type of sign, right? Sign must clearly be posted on all roads leading up to the no escape road 1 mile ahead and directly 200 feet before the entrance. Now I'm just throwing out some numbers there. They'll probably need be in a little study. Just me thinking now, you should also say like no gas for the next 40 miles. You need to have some type of indicator like that just to let drivers know. I'll just read through this first sign. Florida Turnpike northbound. Okay. It's like when you're entering, no escape road. There's no escape, right? No exit and U-turns for 42 miles, no gas for 33 miles. You gotta let your drivers know this, right? It's community, right? We pay our taxes. Like, again, tax me. I don't even live in Florida, and I feel bad for anybody that has to go through what I did. Tax me. I'll contribute to the United States of America government better road systems, right? Tax me, and I'm being very serious, right? If everyone contributes a little bit, let's get this thing right across the United States. But you know, I'd be surprised if some other state did this. But once I post this, I'm sure I'm going to get some feedback that there are perhaps maybe one or two out there. This needs to be resolved. Continuing from the previous sign, this is just an example, right? So all these roads lead to this little entrance right here, where once you reach this point, you can't get out. You're pretty much stuck unless you do something illegal, and there are opportunities in there. But what I'm saying is, add the signs, all roads into here, right? Sign here, to let people know that when you want to travel northbound, you can't leave for, you know, uh, 33, 45 miles. And if you go southbound, this southbound is actually 8 miles. So just let them know, right? Have a sign just to let people know. You can't assume that you can't design this road for purely Floridians because, again, Florida is a very highly touristy state, right? Give us more signs. That way we know how to plan our what should we get gas here? I mean, look, there's a Love's travel stop. There should have been a sign right here actually to say last gas station. In fact, as part of this sign, you should say last gas station Love's travel stop. That lets people know, if you're going to get on a turnpike, you should say something like Florida Turnpike, last gas station, 40 miles, something like that. Anything. Just let us know, right? Okay, so here's a little mock-up of what I'm saying before. We need this type of signs, humongous signs like the standard interstate signs, right? You can't put a small street sign there and expect everybody to read it in time. Again, we caught it too late. There was a car blocking us, but we didn't have very much time. No wiggle room. This would at least helped us. If we had put it right here, right? So when we're pulling over, we see it here, right? And okay, well, Miami, and you should actually put the sign uh, which lane they should take, right? So they have time over here between here and here. They have opportunity to change if they coincidentally just pulled in and went took the wrong lane, right? So definitely need more sign, and you need one. I discussed this one already overhead. I'll do a little mock-up later, and you also need another one here, like a last chance sign. You cannot miss this. You cannot get this wrong. The penalty is humongous today, right? I'm hoping this will spawn a bridge eventually being built. At least just one bridge. Give us one bridge, right? Yeah, again, 41 miles unreasonable. If you just give us one bridge, we have an opportunity to do a U-turn like maybe 4 or 5 miles. That way we don't have to travel the whole way, right? These are the signs that we need right here, really large signs. I also noticed like when I'm driving in that little road where right, by this point it's too late. You pulled in. Also know this little area for employees. I guess his employees, they park their car and they go in here. I think this needs to be repurposed to say last chance, turn around, exit toll. So you can turn in here. You want to pull out, you can go out this way. Obviously, there needs to be some paint removal where people can turn left here, right? The only way for employees to go out, they'd have to do that. They stop here and they turn left. That's what needs to happen. Just allow a little circle thing for people to come back out. Last chance, turn around, exit toll. A little sign right here. Just let them come in, and if they want to turn around, they can. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. Again, if you if I could have one thing done immediately, I can't imagine this costing a lot of money. I just can't. Um, no more than 10,000 is my thing, even for government, right? Because we overspend on everything for every little thing. But I can't imagine two signs costing more than 10,000, and it saves so much time, so much wasted gas, so much risk of life for people doing the U-turn. This will get people, you know, whatever this is, SunPass only. I'm not from the state of Florida. I actually borrowed my cousin's car and she had a SunPass, so I didn't worry about it. I don't know what this is, but this is far more important than this. So I'm not sure how they do it, remove it, or just add a little that little metal fence thingy that goes on top and put this thing on. If you ask me any one thing that could help immediately, this is it, right? Miami, this lane, there's no mistake. Orlando, this lane, big, big, big sign, right? So like I said, this tiny sign, you just can't read it until it's too late, right? So if you coincidentally went in here, again, that's what happened to me. It was too late. There was a car blocking me, didn't have much time. Now you're stuck in the abyss, right? So this is a very important slide. I hope the proper people look at this and say, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, so can't read the sign. So we passed by this. I don't remember seeing this. I just remember a thing of blue. But roadside assistance phone number limited sign only only one I saw on Google Maps. This was the only one I saw on Google Maps. Should put this on the bridge. It's more visible. So to be perfectly honest, I don't know if I could read this. Just me thinking now, I wouldn't have been able to see this flip 3471 where you need roadside assistance. A lot of people have cell these days, but you can't assume, right? Here's what I think should happen. You gotta repurpose these bridges and put signs on these bridges. It'll make information more readable, it'll come across better information. So I threw this thing on here, but really it just needs to say call, flip, and the number for roadside assistance, right? You can just have it go across this whole thing actually, and it would be nice for you to put on the bridge, say, hey, 25 miles till Fort Drummond Service Plaza, right? It would be nice, right? That lets people know. I had no idea that there was a service plaza before I did the investigation. I had no way of knowing. I'm a tourist. The point I jumped on the bridge, there was no sign, there was nothing. I'm just assuming it's like another tollway like Texas. Actually, like any other state I've been on tolls. I've been on several tolls in different states. Nothing like this. So, you gotta let people know somehow. But I really like the idea of repurposing this bridge like this, add some signs here, blue signs here instead of over here. If we keep it over here, I just feel like this needs to be bigger. Look, you have this much room on this sign. This is not drawn to scale, so this is copy and paste. This my poor man's way of doing Photoshop. But there's a lot going on in this sign. It's too small. It's way too small for people to understand this. Okay, add U-turn ramps. Okay, so here's the U-turn right here, right? This is like 3 miles, and there's this major high, I guess it's County Road 68, and then but there's a bridge here, and there's another one here 5 miles later, and it was kind of an analogy that I put in a previous slide where EMS, if you could put a bridge on here, they could just take a bridge, get to an accident right here, versus having to drive all the way down and all the way up, right? So it's the same thing. Give us a bridge, right? You just need a bridge up here. You just need a bridge like a diamond. Just think of this as a diamond. You just need a bridge, right? So immediately, when people make that wrong turn, at least the third mile, they just need to drive 3 miles and do a U-turn. Like Google will tell them, hey, 3 miles, you're gonna turn around. Google, assuming that they use Google, right? But like I think majority of people traveling in on the interstate these days that don't know the roads are so dependent on Google, or some other app, but or GPS app. But just again, the point I'm just trying to make is just give us a ramp. I don't know how much a ramp costs. I can't imagine it being that expensive. If we can figure a way to get a ramp on there, I think it would solve at least it would be an immediate band-aid. Right? It doesn't solve all the problems, but between the sign and just this one ramp on and off, I think it's going to be tremendous. Especially those crazy truck drivers that are willing to do a U-turn, cover the whole highway and do a U-turn, which is pretty nuts. But they do it. But they do it because if I was a truck driver, just thinking more on it, I would try to probably pull that maneuver off too. A lot of truck drivers they block it like that, assuming that the car will not hit them, right? Because they're gonna say, okay, well the other driver is gonna see me, they're gonna stop. Because this actually happens. Anyone driving on the road, you'll see a truck, and of course you're gonna stop. No one's gonna run right into it. But again, the challenge with this is the speed, right? So if the truck driver did it right here, right? It's just the speed. People turning in this corner, they're not gonna see him. They're gonna hit him. The people are traveling 80 miles per hour, right? And they're looking down at their cell phones, they're goofing off, whatever. It happened. It actually happened. I showed the article, right? And that's what I'm saying. If the truck driver missed it, his GPS, assuming he has a GPS, I can't imagine him not, would have told him, hey, do a U-turn right here, get off and go back this way. Just by having one, give us one bridge. Okay, I'm not asking for every bridge now. Just give us one, right? One. That will save so many people from doing a U-turn, right? It's risky. Either that or the drivers that go the whole 45 miles. It will save them under those two conditions. They just simply need to do this. And GPS will take care of it. GPS will tell them just take this exit and turn around. So at immediately, I think that sign at least one exit, I think would be tremendous. Would be very, very tremendous. I can't imagine it cost that much. Yeah, this is kind of a visual of what I was just trying to say. Just give us an entrance ramp, right? Just to get on this bridge, right? So that's do it safely. I think you need about 300 feet, I'm guessing, but give us a nice entrance ramp. And I've been to my home country, and it's a third world country, and they have wooden bridges. It's pretty crazy what they put on the type of cars, the heavy cars that drive on wooden bridges. But you know what? That's a lot better than driving the 90 miles. If you put a wooden bridge, unsafe wooden bridge, I probably would have taken that over the 90 miles. Seriously, I think if you can just give us at least one bridge today, that would be tremendous. All right. In summary, I try to run this like we do our projects, right? And you know, I try to identify the must-haves. Well, the must-haves I feel are we need better signs, right? We need ability to perform safer U-turns. Those are the two things that I predominantly talk about. They should have more entrances, right, in and out of the toll system. This is more revenue for the turnpike system as well. So people are going on and off. You charge them each time, and that's like I think Florida already has it. For some reason, they don't have these entrances, but it's a great opportunity. Easier access for emergency services. So more entrances, easier access for emergency services. Now I want to discuss this a little bit more. Would any of us feel good taking the turnpike system knowing that it could take 45 minutes if something happened to you before you see an ambulance, before you see a cop, before you see a fire truck, right? If you're in an emergency, if that had happened and you already know it's going to take, it can take 45 minutes, why would anyone jump on it, right? And that's one of the things that kind of disturbs me about this whole thing because that turnpike system is not a small country road. There are tens of thousands of cars using that every single day. I'm just a little bit surprised by this. And it, me personally, I would never use the turnpike system, at least that main artery from Orlando to Miami. I'll personally just take the longer road and go, just knowing that something happens, you can't get on it. It's, you could be waiting a while for things to happen. That's not a comforting feeling. We kind of got blindsided with this, but if I had lived in Florida, I wouldn't use it, right? So, I really do, and I said this a million times, but I scratched my head at why they would design it like this. It could be at the time it made sense. Let me use a different analogy. Even in software, when we develop software, we have good intentions, we have all those things, but when it gets deployed into production, when it actually gets built, you find that that there are people utilize software the way you don't intend it, and it creates it's not exactly what you had in mind. This is especially true if you're trying to build something and someone else is do it. But the point I want to make is, they didn't foresee a lot of things, right? It's just like a house. A lot of people want to customize their own homes. When they actually when it gets built and they see a finished product, they no longer like it. They had the right idea, but when they actually walked through it, etc., it wasn't exactly the size they had. It wasn't exactly the feng shui they thought. Those types of things, and they have regrets. That's very common if you're ever designing your own and building your own homes. That's why me personally, I like to start with a base home that I can walk into and see and visualize. I always work with a builder, and then use that as a base template or build that spec home. That's a big advantage. I think this is kind of the same thing. They kind of over didn't project a lot of the intangible, which is people missing a turn, which is emergency services needing to get fast access to a scene of an accident. Those types of things they didn't foresee, they didn't plan that out. They was like, okay, we're just gonna build this road. No one can get on, no one can get off, so it's like one straight shot, like a bullet train, and it'll be convenient for everybody, and everybody will be happy. I think that's what they had going in, the vision they had going in, but in practice, there was a lot of things overlooked. And now the signs, I don't get the signs, how that could have been overlooked. I guess no one just ever reported it. I have no idea. For me, or the people designing the road and the people in charge of signs are disconnected in some way where this could possibly happen. But that entrance ramp, the whole signage thing, that challenges honestly that frustrates me a little bit. But I hope that I raise this to the right authorities, highway authorities, and I hope we really do something about this because it's community, right? It's for our children, it's for our grandparents. They're gonna use the highway system. I just don't want the same thing happening to them or other people that pay tax. These are our tax dollar mostly, right? I don't know about the turnpike system, how that is funded. In Texas, we do have private funding for some tollways. At least they say. I'm sure that the local government tax the tollway authorities too. So, those are the things that, and I hope the decision is not based on, revenue. I hope that's not the case. Decisions should be made on safety first, right? Safety first, convenience, and then you look in the revenue. My thought has always been, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. That's just me when I take on a project. Don't go half half-ass way. I hate to say it like that, but halfway. Deliver a good product, right? And I feel like there's definitely room for growth here. I think that hopefully this is taken seriously. Just putting on just my recommendations and guarantee you somebody's going to live, right? uh, you're probably saving about 10 lives every 10 years. And I don't know what the actual stat is. I brought up article by article and article, and I don't know when this exactly when this toll system came up. I heard it was 1999. I tried to do research, but 1999 could have been one section. I'm not sure when this whole completion of the section was. So when you think about all the articles I found and that people actually died, numerous articles I presented that people actually died. You think in the scope of 10 years, how many lives you can save? I mean, safety first. I mean, don't put people in an unreasonable situation where the most common sense thing to do is to use the U-turn. That's not good. That's definitely not good. So I'm hoping we can work together and raise this to the right bodies of controllers of the highway system, and we can get something done. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching my video.